Meet Elliot Pfebve. He's been living with colon cancer for a while now. At just 55 years old, he's already had to endure surgery and chemotherapy. And he's doing it all for one reason: to make sure that his cancer never comes back. The harsh reality for Elliot, and for any cancer patient for that matter, is the fear of reoccurrence. It's a shadow that follows them into every follow-up appointment. The constant dread of those three words, "it's come back." But for Elliot, that fear is starting to fade. In May 2024, Elliot made medical history. He became the first person in England to receive a personalized cancer vaccine. What's up, nerds? If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm Matty C, and I spent years doing my PhD making novel chemotherapies very similar to the ones used in Elliot's story. And if you're not new, welcome back. I missed you. In the next few minutes, we're going to unravel exactly how scientists took a bit of Elliot's blood, some of the tumor that he had in his colon, and then made a tailor-made vaccine just for him. We'll talk about how the vaccine is made and how it's actually training his immune system to find and kill cancer cells, all while having less side effects than traditional chemotherapy. We'll also talk about how this technology is paving the way for the future of medicine and how it's being used for other types of notoriously tough cancers to treat. We can't talk about these new cancer vaccines without talking about cancer itself and traditional chemotherapies. Put simply, cancer comes from your own cells that are rapidly and uncontrollably dividing till they form this large, dense mass called a tumor. Tumors steal the resources that healthy cells need to stay healthy. Traditional chemotherapy, like the one that Elliot has already been through, is a tiny little molecule that is designed to kill cancerous cells. And although they try their best to kill only cancerous cells, most chemotherapies are actually just designed to kill all cells that grow really fast. Hair cells, nail cells, healthy cells. Traditional chemotherapy acts like a nuke. It leaves the whole system in wreck, all while trying to kill one or two baddies that are really good at hiding. The death of these healthy cells is why many chemo patients don't actually feel better, despite the treatment working as planned. And if you or someone you love have gone through chemo, you know that these side effects can be unbearable, which is why scientists are always looking for new potential cancer treatments. We need something better. And over the last few decades, scientists have focused a lot on these cancer vaccines. In theory, these cancer vaccines work very similarly to the vaccines we take for viruses, such as the flu or COVID. They're thinking, if we can train the immune system to fight harmful viruses, can we do the same to fight harmful cancer cells? To understand why this is tricky, we need to take a look inside the body. Imagine it like a high-security nightclub, where the immune cells are the elite team of bouncers at the door. And every cell in his body carries a little ID card on its surface. This is called an antigen, and it identifies each cell. The bouncers, called T cells, are constantly checking IDs. Healthy cell, the antigen checks out, and you're good to go in, brother. Harmful cell, not on the list. Beat it, twerp. This is easy for foreign entities like a virus. But cancer is a master of disguise. Since it started as one of Elliot's own cells, it flashes an ID that is familiar to these bouncers. It has some of the right antigens. But cancers also show these things called neoantigens, or mutated antigens, that are specific to cancer cells. Neoantigens are basically typos drawn on with Sharpie onto their cellular ID. And you'd think that these neoantigens would be a dead giveaway to Elliot's T cells, but the mix of normal antigens and these new weird neoantigens just confuses the T cells. They see something is off, but they aren't sure if this colon cancer cell is a threat or if it's a VIP. And the last thing they want to do is upset a VIP, so they let it slide. And this is how Elliot's cancer cells can get in and out of the club without the bouncers ever knowing how much trouble they're causing. Cancer vaccines are in charge of clarifying this whole ID situation. Vaccines are designed to mimic the neoantigens that the cancers show, and make it very clear to the T cell bouncers that anyone with these neoantigens have got to go, even if it's a very convincing fake ID with many different regular antigens. But there are many different neoantigens. They not only differ from cancer to cancer, but from person to person. So say Elliot's colon cancer is very different from his neighbor's. This is why it's so hard to make cancer vaccines, and honestly any kind of vaccine in general. The body needs to know which exact antigens to look for. And this is where things get personal. How can we make a cancer vaccine that is individualized to specific neoantigens on a single person's specific cancer? Before researchers could make a vaccine, they needed to see which neoantigens they were looking for. They cut a small part of his colon and analyzed the tumor's entire genetic code, its entire genetic blueprint, and compared it, line by line, to the blueprint of Elliot's healthy cells. Researchers found 18 specific neoantigens that would be the most obvious for his immune system to detect. 18 of the most obvious typos that existed only in his cancer cells. And here's where something called mRNA really makes its mark. You've probably heard a lot about it during the COVID times, but it is incredibly important for Elliot's story as well. You see, mRNA, or messenger ribonucleic acids, are temporary bits of the neoantigen codes that eventually produce the neoantigen protein. It's kind of like a little sticky note with instructions that tell the immune cells what the full antigen will look like. The plan? Inject this custom mRNA, the mRNA that encodes for these 18 neoantigens, put it into a ball of fat called a lipid nanoparticle, which just protects it on its journey, inject it into Elliot's arm, and let the cellular machinery in his arm read the sticky note to seamlessly build a few copies of those neoantigen proteins. Now listen carefully here, because Elliot's muscles play an incredibly important role in making sure that this actually works. Specific antigen presenting cells in Elliot's muscles read the sticky note, make the neoantigen protein, and then stick it onto its own surface. It's kind of like a mugshot on a wanted poster being posted on an old-timey police station. This recruits and activates T cells in the area, which have now been promoted from bouncer to bounty hunter, and have been adequately trained to hunt the neoantigens from the real cancer cells. And they're able to log this face forever, so anytime they see these neoantigens, they're ready to get the boys together. And the best part? That mRNA code, that original sticky note, is only temporary. They've shown to be incredibly safe because they don't stick around for too long. No lingering molecules, no rewriting your genetic code. On top of that, mRNA are relatively easy to make, which is especially important because we're trying to make personalized cancer vaccines. If you're trying to make a different vaccine for each person, you want to minimize the amount of time it takes to make each vaccine. The relative ease, personalization, and safety profile of these mRNA vaccines is what makes them such a standout over other vaccine technologies and traditional chemotherapies. If you really want to learn how mRNA works from the ground up, I recommend checking out this video. I do more of a deep dive on how mRNA and mRNA vaccines are being used in a more general case. Be sure to give that video a like, come back, give this video a like, and subscribe so you don't miss future videos on groundbreaking mRNA research. But for now, let's get back to the results. So Elliot got this groundbreaking new jab. What happened next? What will happen next? Well, Elliot says that he's perfectly fine. He experienced the same symptoms of taking a flu shot, just a little bit of redness and some arm soreness, but no other negative side effects. At the time of recording, August 2025, he's still colon cancer free, all while going for routine checkups as part of the study. 550 others, just like Elliot, are having their colon cancers treated with a personalized cancer vaccine. It's still too early for them to release the full results of this study, but we do have initial results from other cancer vaccine trials. For example, in this melanoma trial, personalized cancer vaccines have shown to decrease cancer risk by almost 50%. And here's another for a specific type of pancreatic cancer. Typically, conventional treatments for this cancer only keep cancer away for about 9 months or less before it comes back. But in this study, they could keep the cancer away for up to 18 months. This is a massive improvement, especially since this cancer has a survival rate of only 12%. So why isn't this technology available everywhere? Well, as I'm sure you can imagine, making a custom mRNA vaccine still takes a lot of time and money to produce. On average, in order to take a tumor, sequence it, or analyze its genetic code, identify the neoantigens, and then manufacture a unique mRNA vaccine for a single patient, takes about 9 weeks and costs about $100,000. It is incredibly complex, but there's lots of hope. With over 120 clinical trials and counting, there is lots of time for researchers to iterate on new mRNA vaccine designs to make that process quicker and cheaper. And they're expected to save a lot of lives in the next few years as a lot of these trials begin to ramp up. In England, for example, they're just getting started. Most of their recruitment is going to be done by 2026, so there should be lots of positive updates in the near future. You know, things are positive when even RFK Jr., the man responsible for cutting $500 million in funding for mRNA vaccines for COVID and the flu, thinks that cancer vaccines are the next big thing. It would be an anime level redemption arc if you could go from anti-vaxxer to cancer vaccine lover. And how can this affect you and your loved ones? If you know someone with cancer who is currently going through chemo, be sure that they ask their doctor to see if they can enroll. There's very limited spots, but depending on who they know, they might get lucky. They could be the next Elliot, not being so afraid of hearing the word cancer every time they go back for a doctor's appointment. If you'd like to hear more about the science behind personalized treatments similar to Elliot's, be sure to click on this video here where we talk about baby KJ, who received the first ever personalized gene therapy. And be sure to subscribe for the next Elliot. But that's all for me today. See you later, nerds.